Welcome back, everyone. All right, so June 3rd. Today was actually not a bad day. Just a little recap. So I took two trades today, or three trades today, two on the same stock, and we're going to go right into it. So first, I was traded TRAW. So TRAW popped up on my scanner early in the morning, and we got, let's see. So the stock quote of the day, the news report was first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. Let me introduce myself. My name is Maurice. I'm a beginner day trader here. I'm gonna be recording my journey from bare bottom all the way up to a point where I can reach margin and trade unlimited. Right now, my trades are limited because I'm trading in a cash account on Charles Schwab, Thinkorswim. Okay, so with this stock, the news came out where Traws Pharma announces publication of compelling efficacy data. To me, this sounded pretty bullish when I glimpsed at it. It came up on the scanner, on the high day momentum scanner, small cap. And I'm also looking at the news as well when it first comes up. So as soon as 7 a.m. comes up, I'm looking at my news at the same time. So I'm trying to see, I'm like, okay, what's coming up? TRAW, as you can see here highlighted, 7 a.m. And I've traded this stock in the past before, so for me this was not too bad. I felt pretty confident. I did give a quick glimpse at the 200 moving average. It was at 553, so I was like, okay, we got some room to the upside. I already had it pulled up on my broker. Started moving pretty quick. And just to go over my P&L for the day, my P&L for the day was actually around $52, $53. We'll go on my trading review. We have $57 P&L, which is not bad. That's really good. I did have a high of $91, but then I did give some back at the top. I should have been careful. I should have waited for the 4:30. I like to trade at the 7 a.m. and the 7:30 mark. Basically at the top of the hour, half hour, sometimes even the quarter of an hour, and then at the end of that hour, which would be 5 a.m., and then starting over again until the open. So those are pretty much the hot peak of the hours. And yeah, so popped up. My entry price for this was I entered the trade at 401. My entry was actually pretty good. It was 244, so I waited for the first candle right over here. So 241, it popped up pretty quickly. I wanted to wait for a micro pullback, but seeing how the level 2 data was, there was a lot of buyers on the bid. The tape was coming in pretty green. I was like, okay, this seems like this would make a pretty big break, and things were looking pretty good. So it popped up as a high of 297, whipped back down. I got in as soon as this candle finished, and at 244, my entry price. Then 319. I got out at 319, so I already gave back. I gave it up. 319 is not too bad, but you see the issues here. I did give off a little bit off the top, but remember, this is happening in milliseconds. 701, 20, 701. 30, that's milliseconds. This is 10 milliseconds. This is the 10-second chart. So let's see, 20 seconds. Actually, no, this is 10 seconds. Sorry, not milliseconds. This is 10 seconds apart, so it's very quick. You don't have time to think. And I saw $75 immediately. I got 75 cents for the first trade. So I thought that was really good. I was like, hey, I'll take it. Was it 75 cents? See, yep, 75 cents. So $75 for the first trade, which is really fantastic. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And I took another trade. So here's my issue. I felt like I gave away some profit off the top, or my entry was a problem. So for my entry for the next trade, I did want to take another stab at it. I got in a little too fast. I got in at 344, so a little bit right here on this red candle. But what I should have done is waited for this doji candle, which is a sign of reversal. So I should have waited till it pulled back further below the volume weighted average price for this time. And right here, this doji candle is an indication of reversal. So I got a little too, clicky. I was like, oh, let me get in. And then I was down 100 at this point because look, 244, and this candle, it hit a low of 244. I was down $100. I was like, holy shit, I just gave back everything. What am I doing? Why? So I have to be very careful. So when you're waiting for that pullback, there's always going to be a pullback. Not all the time, but most, you have to be careful. There was a slight pullback, and I'm looking at this at the 1 minute chart. I'm like, okay, the candle looks pretty high for this candle wick right here, the 4820, and I was, unsure. I got a little bit uneasy. I was like, I think I made a bad decision. The decision was bad, but I should have waited, because then I could have got in for 244 and sold probably at this high candle 338. That would have been a much better trade. So that was bad on my bad on my part. But I did get to exit out at 356 as soon as it rallied up. So as soon as it hit 356, I got out here. I did leave some profit off the top, but that's okay. We still had a green trade, 2 out of 2 so far. And then this candle top, this pretty much was the top. So you see this top. This is more of a doji, but it's more on the toppings, on the top side of things. And then it started unwinding itself. And on the 1 minute, it wasn't looking pretty strong. It was just looking pretty, it did bounce back a little bit. As you can see here, it did pull back for a couple of seconds. Try to make a new break past the 380 mark, 390, but there was some rejection. So if this ever happens, I'm focused on this resistance level. I'm trying to see if it'll break past the $4, $4.50. So this was already extended. This is a pretty good way to kind of gauge, okay, is there a possibility of breaking, new highs? This was a pretty large pullback, so I wasn't trusting this afterwards. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's focus on the next trade. The next trade, this is where I give back the money. So my next trade was on DPRO. DPRO was so it wasn't the best trade. I don't think it was a good decision. I felt I was too. I should have waited a little bit more. I got a little bit impatient. I think it's because I was excited by the time I was up by quite a lot. $91 was already a lot to me, but it's okay. So we'll go here to DPRO. So the reason why I traded the stock, one, the volume, it met my standard. The 200 moving average, I looked at this and was like, okay, there's still some room to the upside. The volume was starting to pick up little by little. I was looking at the news. So this is an example of not to just trade on the news. You can perceive that the news is good in a sense, but the market might not perceive it that way. So this was the news that the company announced a delivery of systems to major prime defense contractor. So that's pretty vague. I've learned that when it comes to very vague headlines, sometimes you can get fooled. And this is pretty, it's not that specific. So you have to go into more detail and kind of read through it. If you're not sure, it's always good to make sure that, hey, this is good news. But like I said, the market has to perceive it as good news. You can't, just because you perceive it as good news doesn't mean the market will do the same, and you will get screwed over. If you think this is good news, the market is not going to care what you think. So, I try to take a stab at it. My position for this one was 228. Okay, so 228. I saw this breakout. I was like, okay, let it pull back. It pulled back. I got in at the middle of this pullback, 228. It's a little bit too high. It pulled back even further. So it made the same mistake. When it pulls back below the volume weighted average price, what I should be looking for is signs of reversal. So on one sign of reversal, this candle really is not. It's a topping tail green candle at the bottom of a trend. So this is still a doji. As you can see, there's a very thin downside to this candle, so it's not a true reversal. So if I had taken my time, I would have looked at this and be like, hey, this is not going to go. And it did break past the VWAP, but I didn't sell there, and I should have. I would have lost a lot less, and it ended up getting out at 194. So I did break my rule, 30 cents. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, I thought this would sort of pick up. There are times where you'll sell and then it'll just go, and you're like, what the heck? Like, why did he just do that? But I had to let it go. I was like, I'm not going to incur any more losses. Like, I'm already down 30. I got out. So as you can see, I held a little bit longer. My winners are a lot shorter, but my losers are longer. So that's also an indication for me that I need to cut my losers faster. It took me 4 minutes to cut my loss. So right on here on the close to 4:20 in the morning, that's where I cut my loss. And I'm glad I did, because I would have lost more, and you could see how dead it was for the rest of the day. It did curl back up, but I'm not going to wait 2 hours just for it to curl back up. It's not worth it. You're just wasting time. So I was like, you know what, let's go. Let's just forget it. And then this ended up with my profit for the day, $57.06. I'm totally okay with that. Green both days, 2 out of 2. We're $92 in on the week. My all-time best is 139 on the month. Let's see. So we'll look at the month of May or April. April was my best month so far of this year. So in April, 139. So we're not far off. I already hit that goal. I hit way past that goal mid-May, but I did give some at the back on these red days. So the goal for this month is to minimize those red days, not even have them at all, and stay consistent with the green. Couple more trades like Monday and Tuesday, except I got to take my time. So things I want to be doing tomorrow. If there's a sign of a pullback, I'm gonna wait until there's signs of reversal. Candle wick in the middle, or a green candle, topping green candle at the bottom of that trend is going to be a sign of reversal. So I got to be looking out for those, so that way I can get in for a better entry. Even if it doesn't break towards the all-time high, I'm still getting in low, buying the dip, and selling a little bit higher. That would have, if I had did that in the second trade, I would have likely been closer to $90 for the day. But coulda, woulda, shoulda. This was pretty short. So June 2nd, off to a great start. And we'll see how tomorrow, don't know what happened. We'll see how tomorrow is, and hopefully we can get some good action on the stocks. We did have a 500% mover, MCTR. I am not going to be trading this. It's $32.36. It could go higher. It could. I was also watching NIVF. They had pretty good breakouts, but this was a continuation. I'm not really that good at continuating the stocks, from the previous day. Yeah, it did give me some good moves, but at the time it was already extended. I feel, right here, something I've noticed whenever 4 a.m. or 7 a.m. hits, I notice a lot of breakouts. So right over here, you see 659. I feel like the market makers purposely pump up the stock, get retailers excited. That way they buy in and they'll dump on you. They just straight dump. I didn't trust this. I was like, you know what? I already traded this, and I was right. So it did pop up at the open, but I'm not worried about the open. I'm worried about what can I make in the beginning of the hours. So I had a pretty short morning. My morning was only about 30 minutes long, and I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. I get to go to sleep early, get to relax, and I do got to prepare myself for longer days when my account grows, because I do need to, capture all the moves. So we'll get there. But going into tomorrow with a stronger mindset. Today I didn't feel so emotional. Today I was pretty calm. Didn't really have to squish my bear. This guy's a really good stress relief. I urge you to buy if you have a lot of stress at 5 and below. All right, see you tomorrow and for the next recap. Good luck.